それ多分言ってるんだと思います。 Jai Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Jai. Glory to the assembled devotees. Glory to the worldwide devotees Ki Jai. Glory to Krishna Kesara Prabhu Ki Jai.
All glories to Sripad Bhakti Madhava Maharaj Ki Jai.
All right. Page 38. Page 38. Vande Hum. Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sham. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam. Sahagana Raghunathan Sajajivam.
Sarvaitam Sabharutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Viskanvitam Shah Om Agyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Puja Shri Guru Varga Vandita Mahabhavan Vattaya Sada Purvapaya Parampara Pachalita Pragya Pramurta Krute Bhakti Udimala Nijasya Nivutam Samrakshakam Sadam Vande Shri Guru Devam Ananta Shira Acharya Vayam Nijam Korva Bhishta Sapurukam Kuruvanara Shisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasthaveda Nipunam Shri Rupa Patananugam Govinda Bidam Usvalam Aratanum Bhakti Anvitam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurum Shadriya Bhagavad Premno Hi Vija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavadanam Palarka Chelanchitam Sandarananda Puram Sirika Varanam Vairavidya Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidim Shivakti Lashitam Sarasvatanam Varam Vande Tam Suram Merika Saranam Nashishvaram Shri Dharharam Shri Siddhanta Sarasvati Hidogorya Goron Vaye Pato Banaviva Bhavata Yagane Yogora Sankirtanai Maya Bharati Vingalo Duragatan Udati Jivaniman Krishna Prema Subhadi Ganan Sukam Paraprabhum Tam Bhaje Namo Gorkishoraya Bhaktavaduta Murtaye Orangi Padma Bringaya Radhabhava Nishivane Vanade Bhakti Vinodam Shri Gaura Shakti Swarupakam Bhakti Shastrakya Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudanidim Gaurvadvashita Sheshar Vaishnavaya Vanyu Vigraham Jagannatha Prabhum Vande Prabhadirveda Vaishnavam Panchakapatriyubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Name Gauratvise Namaha Kayatam Surator Pangor Mama Mandamatir Gati Matsarasva Parambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindandaka Kalpadubaga Shrimara Nagara Simhasanasto Shri Gandharva Srila Govinda Devam Praistali Beast Vaivanara Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Sivata Tatastita Karshan Venus Vanagopia Gopinate Shri Estuna
Vrindaya
Tulasi
Tulsi
Devyai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pada Devi Satyavajaya Namo Namaha Atatva Gurun Bhagavatarthadan Vyasanjaga Guru Natva Tata Jaya Mudirayat
Shri Guru Varangadharva Shri Guru Varangadharva Govinda Sundar Bhadapadmanam Jayastu
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Amara Jivana Sada Papirata Ahika Punyera Lesha.
Maharaj, what page is this on?
105.
Amara Jivana Sada Papirata Nahika Punyera Lesha
Parera Udvega Diachi Ekata Diachi Jivera Klesha.
Padera Udvega Diachi Ekata Diachi Jivera Klesha
Nija Shukalagi Papena Hidari Daya Hina Swarta Para
Nija Sukalagi Papena Hidari Daya Hina Swarta Para
Para Suke Duki Sodamita Basi Para Duka Shukakara
Para Suke Tuki Sada Mityabasi Para Duka Sukakara
Ashesha Kamana Vidimahe Mora Akrodi Damba Parayana
Asesha Kamana Hridimaje Mora Krodidamba Parayana
Madhavata Sada Visaye Mohita Insa Garva Vibhushana
Madhamata Sada Vishai Mohita Himsa Garva Vibhushana
Nidralasya Hata Sukarye Virata Akarye Udyogi Ami
Nidralasya Hata Sukarye Virata Akarye Udyogiyami
O Pratisthalagiya Satya Acharana Lobhata Sadhakami
Prastita Lagiya Satya Acharana Lobahata Sadakami
Ehena Durjana Sajjana Varjita Aparadi Nirantara
Ihena Dvarjana Sajana Varjita Aparadi Nirantara
Subhakarya Sumi Sadhanarta Manna Nana Duke Jata Jara
Subhakarye Sunya Sadhanartamana Nana Duke Jara Jara
Vartake Ekana Upaya Vihina Tate Dina Kinshana
Hardhake Ekana Upaya Vihina Tate Dina Akinchana
Vakati Vinoda Prabhuda Charane Kara Duke Nivedana
Bhakati Vinoda Prabhuda Charane Kariduka Nivedana
Amara Jivana Sada Papirata Nahika Punyera Lesha
Amara Jivana Sara Papirata Nahika Punyera Lesha
Arera Udvega Diachi Ekata Diachi Jivera Klesha
Parera Udvega Diachi Ekata Diachi Jivera Klesha
Akino Tako Akino
Jai.
Oh.
Alright.
So we're continuing. Varanagati, Mangalacharna, Bhagavad Bhakti Sarvam, It Yutsraja Vidher Api, Kain Karyam Krishna Padaika, Shrayatvam Sharanagati. This is definition of Sharanagati, having faith that everything is attained by serving the Supreme Lord, abandoning subservience to even scriptural injunctions, and taking shelter of Sri Krishna's feet exclusively, is known as Sharanagati. Like a sloka about watering the root. When we water the root, all the leaves and branches are automatically watered. We don't have to we don't have to water each root, each leaf and branch. We just water the root, and then we know the whole thing is taken care of. Same thing, by serving Krishna, a devotee has faith that simply by that service to Krishna, everything is taken care of. He no longer has to follow all the rules of the Shastra, that giving for sacrifices and so many different things are told there. That can be given up when Krishna even told Arjuna that I'm ordering you to fight, and he said, well, why would I be committing so many sinful activities by killing my teachers and family members and so forth. And then Krishna told him, Mom may come, what is that? Aham tvam sarva papaya. I will take all your sinful activities because you're doing under my command, or acting under my order. Just like a man goes to war, he kills so many people. But when he comes back, they don't consider him a killer. He's considered a hero because he's acting not for his own self-interest, for the interest of the country. Similarly, one who acts on Krishna's behalf for his service, and so many things that are recommended in the scriptures are not to be given the first preference. Krishna's orders to be given preference. In that sense, one can the Supreme Lord, he is the supreme over everything. But his needs come first. His order comes first. His desire is to satisfy him, and all other things can be given secondary importance. What else could be more important? To follow the will of the Lord, or in our case, in the will of Gurudev, we must follow that. Srila Maharaj told Puri Maharaj, don't follow your own mind, follow what I tell you. And then Puri Maharaj said, even if I'm thinking something good, I'll do that. That kind of attitude is called shelter at Krishna's lotus feet exclusively is called Sharanagati. Then Dainya. Dainya means humility. This is also known as Karpanya, experience of one's lamentable condition. Dainya has been defined in Sri Pranajivadamrita in the following verse. Bhagavan Raksha Rakshaivam Artavadena Sarvataha Asamurdva Daya Sindhur Hare Karunya Vaibhavam Svarantam Sadhisheshena Nijati Sarchanichatam Bhaktana Marti Bhavastu Karpanyam Katyate Budai. Lord, please protect me. Praying thus in the mood of distress, while remembering in all respects the greatness of the mercy of the Supreme Lord, the unparalleled ocean of compassion, and remembering in particular one's own most lamentable loneliness, this condition of the devotees is described by the learned as Karpanya. Prabhu was chanting Krishna, 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 Krishna. Rakshamam, Ahimam, and Rakshamam. Rakshamam, please save me, please protect me. Even Mahaprabhu was chanting like that. So sometimes it is said we should not pray to Krishna for anything. But when you have to seek his protection in that heartfelt mood, that is also bhakti. Also bhakti. I'm dying in humility. What can I do without you? I have no position, no power. You are the cause of all causes. What can I do? You are God. I am the finite person. Of course, that's seeing Krishna in a very, like that, great situation, supreme situation. Sometimes devotees don't see like that. They don't like to see Krishna like that. But even the gopis, sometimes they depend upon Krishna. When the demons come to fight and they feel that they cannot do anything in the power of the demons, they ask for Krishna's help. When Krishna lifted a hill, Govardhan Hill, many were thinking, how can a baby boy lift that hill? And others were thinking, no, Krishna can do it, come on, let's go. He can give us protection under the hill. He will save us. Like that. That kind of faith, trust that Krishna, whether we see him as God or as just some special person with great powers, that can do anything. That's humility. Atma-nivedana means self-submission. This is also known as Atmoksarga, self-dedication, has been defined as Sripad in the following way. Krishnaya arpita dehasya nirmalam syanaham krite manasas tatsvarupatvam sritam atma-nivedanam. Atma-nivedanam is known as the condition of having offered oneself to Krishna solely to satisfy him, while being devoid of possessiveness and false egotism. I remember one time when Sripad Maharaj told us when he was preaching for collecting funds for building a temple, and he went to one divan, like a mayor or of one town, and they had a hard time convincing him. He says, well, I have so many people to take care of. You have to feed the homeless and this, that, and the other thing. And somehow, Sripad quoted one verse from the Bhagavatam, Vikritam Raju Aduviridam Savishno. And it says there that we have so many desires to fulfill. But if we just can somehow or other remember Krishna, that he is the possessor of everything. There's nothing that is not owned by him. All things belong to him. And that knowledge, that understanding, that consciousness can untie the knot of ego that binds us to this world. That realization that this all belongs to him. Everything, every atom belongs to him. That realization, that can save us from our own egoistic position of this world. That we have something that we have responsibility for. Something, whatever it may be, that we have some proprietorship over that kind of knot of ego, of desire, that keeps us in that mentality. That can be overcome simply by remembering Krishna's supreme position, supreme ownership over everything. Every atom of our being, every atom of every being. And in that way, offering oneself wholesale offering of oneself, not claiming possession over anything, but that he has all rights reserved. We were saying, reading something about that. All rights reserved. He has right over everything. nothing is ours. Atma is like the soul, Atma, the whole soul. Gopritve Varuna, embracing the Lord's guardianship. This is also referred to as accepting the Lord as one maintainer, as been defined in Sri Sripad Jivanamrita. Hey Krishna Pahimam Nata, Kripayat Mat Kanat Katam Kuru, Ityevam Parthanan, Krishna Bhaktum Swamis Swarupata. Did I miss something? Gopritve Varanam Jayam Bhaktar Hridayataram Param Prapitye Kartakatrena Tad Angitrena Tatspitam. O Krishna, please protect me. O Lord, kindly accept me as your own. This prayer to attain Sri Krishna as one's master is supremely pleasing to the hearts of the devotees and is known as Gopritve Varanam, embracing the Lord's guardianship. Gopritve Varanam expresses the very ideal of surrender and is thus considered to be its complete embodiment. Angi, the other five aspects of surrender are considered limbs or angas. So this is the central point of Sharanagati, Gopritve Varanam. Accepting the guidance of the Lord. That usually comes in the form of guru or acharya. When we accept acharya, it means we are accepting the guidance of guru. And I am not capable of finding my own way. And especially in spiritual matters, I know nothing of that arena. I have no experience of that. Then we have to find a master who can guide us in that area. And to have faith in the Guru as the manifestation of the Supreme Lord, direct manifestation of the Supreme Lord coming to guide us. That is Gopritve Varanam, a practical matter. Anyone can say, I'm surrendered to Krishna. Well, you come to a man and you say, I'm accepting you and my spiritual master. Tell me what should I do? That kind of faith, that kind of trust. That, and is as good as that we accept that person as good as God. Right? In matters of spiritual concern, of knowledge and things like that, we have to accept some kind of guidance if we don't have any idea of those things. So Krishna is very pleased when we do that. He recommends that process also in Bhagavad Gita. Tribhuti Panipatena, Pariprasnena Seva, approach a spiritual master and learn from him in a very humble way how to proceed. Because the whole system of Veda is to learn this humbleness, this humility before Veda. We're not to approach Veda with a challenging mood or interpretive mood. You have to accept the authority of Veda as a scientific expression, scientific explanation of spiritual life, spiritual reality. And we don't accept Veda in that sense, in that attitude. Then we're back where we started. Trying to figure out things for our own, making our own ideas, or accepting other people's ideas. So Veda is meant to eliminate that kind of uncertainty and mental concoctions. Simply by accepting Veda as the supreme word, the revealed truth of the Supreme Lord and His whole world, the whole world of spirit. Simply accepting as a description of that in a scientific way, then we can understand it very easily through humility. And not trying to create our own ideas. This is what's going on in the material. Everyone has their own idea. You see that in that list, scientists that we have. They all have a different idea what consciousness is, what this is, what that is, and it's as if they're getting the direct word of God and sort of expressing that. They don't speak of God in that way, but they take their position and they think they are, or they're actually taking a position of thinking themselves to be God to be able to speak like that, simply asserting things, and then assuming that it is true and the absolute truth, no doubt, nonetheless. So that is not proper attitude for learning, and that is not the proper attitude for making progress in knowledge. The Vedas have given us perfect system, a perfect means to attain true knowledge, genuine knowledge, that will be satisfying to the self, and that will correspond with what is actually the case. Otherwise, simply presenting our own ideas, our own opinions, and going back and forth, never getting anywhere, and rather being always in complete ignorance of what is actually going on. That is not very valuable way of proceeding. So the sculptures are the very central point of spiritual progress, accepting this guardianship, be guarded. When you have to go to the infinite plane, how you can claim any knowledge of what is there? Infinite plane, you can only approach that plane with faith. You can only make progress in that arena with faith. We have no other means. So, faith means to have faith in a guide. Like when you're lost in the forest and you don't know which way to go, you're lost in the pine barrens.
Somebody just commented if you can speak a little louder.
You want to use a microphone?
No. Let me just bring it closer.
Where's that microphone? It is. No, do we have to go through this all over again? All right. Put it up here near the camera.
It's already there. What app did you have?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is it working?
You should.
Hare Bo. Hare Krishna. Now working? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
That should be good.
Better?
Yeah.
All right. So this is the central teaching of the whole Vedic system is based upon this. Seeking guidance, not that we are capable of coming up with our own knowledge of the infinite, the divinity. Then that will distinguish the
seeker of the divinity, real or the sincere seeker of divinity, and those who want to maintain their own ideas about things. Well, you can't have surrender as long as you think yourself to be the determiner of what is what. We can't know that. We are created as servants, as followers. We are to be guided just like sheep. They don't know which way are they going. Animals don't really know which way the person who is taking care of them wants them to go. They're all going in their own way, but the owner knows how to feed them, how to take care of them, and we are like that. In the world of the infinite, we are no better than animal or insect or anything. But we do have an intelligence to be able to take guidance. Sometimes animals, they don't even have that intelligence, but they are by just force, they are made to follow. We have some intelligence, and voluntarily we have to choose whom we are to follow, and thereby be able to make some progress in our life in the infinite world. Of course, anyone can follow their own opinions in this mundane world. Who wants to live like that? They have so many competitors who are telling what to do or what they think is right. You want to join them? No problem. But that won't be beneficial. Because they're all based on misconceived notions of what is what. And to get the true knowledge of what is there, we have Veda, and those who have studied Veda, those who have followed the principle of Guru Parampara, they are able to tell us which way to go and how to follow the process of Sharanagati. Sharanagati means surrender. And Asya Rakshime Krishna. Krishna will certainly protect me. This refers to faith that Sri Krishna will surely grant his protection. It has been defined for Panajivanamrita as Rakshishyati hi mam Krishno bhaktanam baddhavastrasa kshemam vidhasyati ti yad visvaso traiva grihate. Certainly Krishna will protect me because he is the true friend of the devotees. He will definitely bless me with all good fortune, herein such faith is sustained. Everyone has something to gain in this world, in the mundane world. They're all looking for something for themselves. But Krishna, although he is looking for his own pleasure, is also of that nature. But because he is Krishna, because he is this supreme source of all, his pleasure becomes our pleasure. Just like feeding the water in the root, the leaves get the benefit, the branches get the benefit. The root takes the water, but everything else is benefited by that. Or when you feed your mouth, the stomach gets the food, but the hand that is giving food to the stomach also gets benefit. So therefore, he is the real friend until we can find that source of all things, of all good things, of everything. Then we cannot find a true friend in this world. No one will be of that position. That their satisfaction will be our satisfaction. That can only be found in the perfect person. And anukul, favorable. This refers to anything helpful for attaining Krishna, and has been defined in Prapanajivanamatri as Krishna Karshnaga Sad Bhakti Papanat Vanukul Krityatva Nishayas Chanukulya Sankalpa Uchate. Resolute conviction to do everything that is favorable to the service of Krishna, to the service of his devotees, and to surrender is called Anukulya Sankalpa, acceptance of the favorable. So this is one of the limbs of Sharanagati also, to accept what is favorable and and the court, and along with that, pratikul, unfavorable. Reject what is unfavorable. This refers to anything that is an obstacle to attaining Krishna, as been defined in Prapannajivanamrita as follows. Bhagavad Bhaktayor Bhakte Apate Pratikulake Varjyatve Nishchayak Nishchaya Pratikulya Varjanam Uchate. Resolute conviction to abandon everything that is opposed to the service of the Lord, to the service of his devotees, and to surrender is called Pratikulya Varjanam, rejection of the unfavorable. Surrender means to make sacrifice. So if we want to avoid sacrifice, that is not favorable to devotion, to surrender. We have to be willing to make sacrifice, and to take that, and to take the opportunity. So for a good example is when someone criticizes you or doesn't cooperate with you. Then what do? If you become angry or you want to criticize them back, that is not surrender. That is not favorable to surrender. Favorable to surrender means I tolerate whatever insult comes to me from others. I think that is my doing for my purification, for increasing my surrender to Krishna. Because to surrender to Krishna means at every moment I'm thinking of Krishna and how I am relating with him and how he is relating with me. And we want to be able to see that. We don't want to be able to see there are so many things other than Krishna that we have to deal with. It's all under his control. If I can maintain that consciousness, and in each situation try to understand how I am relating to Krishna in a very humble way, to accept his affection to me under every circumstance, then we will find our ability to come to the plane of surrender as being progressively favorable at every moment. Whereas if I only see Krishna in the favorable things, then that won't be very helpful. We'll find so many events in our life that we are wasting by not remembering Krishna in those times also. Saranga Sharanagati Haiveyahara Tanhara Partana Sune Sri Nanda Kumar. This is Bhakti Vinod's. Sri Nanda Kumar hears the prayer of one who surrenders in this sixfold way. And the meaning of Saranga Sharanagati, surrenders in this sixfold way. The 6 aspects of surrender are defined within the Vayu Purana and the Vaishnava Tantra. Anukulya Sankalpa, particularly Vivarjanam, Rakshashyatiti Visvaso Gupte Varanam Tata, Atma Nikshepa Karpande Sadvida Sharanagati. Accepting everything favorable, rejecting everything unfavorable, being confident that Krishna will grant his protection, embracing Krishna's guardianship, fully offering oneself to Krishna, and feeling oneself to be lowly are the 6 aspects of Sharanagati. Vartana Sune means Sri Nanda Kumar hears their prayers. This means Krishna reciprocates with the surrendered souls in accordance with their prayers. Sakrit eva prapanno yas tavasmiti achayachate amayam sarvada tasmai dadabhyetad vratam mama. Ramachandra proclaims, anyone who even once sincerely surrenders unto me, declaring I am yours and prays for fearlessness, it is my vow that I will grant that to them. From the Ramayana. Even once, then that will not be forgotten by Krishna. Once one wants to surrender, is inspired to surrender. That's why it's very important to preach this message of Sharanagati. And Krishna says, Sarvadharma Parityajya Mame Kama Sharanam Vraja. One can only preach this message that Krishna is giving in the Bhagavad Gita. Sharanam or Sharanagati. Mame Kama Sharanam Vraja. One preaches only this message. And if someone hears that once in their life and feels that very sincerely in their life, oh, I wish I could do that, then Krishna will not forget them. They will eventually be able to come back to him. That is his promise. Rupa Sanatan Pade Dante Trinakari Bhakati Vinoda Pade Dui Aduhu Padadari Kandiya Balyami Tahadama Sikhaye Sharanagati Karhe Uttama. Bhakti Vinod places a straw between his teeth and falls before Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu and Srila Sanatan Goswami Prabhu, clasping their feet. Crying incessantly, he prays, I am so lowly. Please elevate me by teaching me Sharanagati. This is the mood that one has to have by approaching one's guardian. The guardian, those who have some position in the plane of surrender. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami are the Samana and Abhideya Acharyas to tell us what our position is and what is the method, what is the path that we have to follow in order to get to the lotus feet of Krishna. So by accepting their guidance, and those in the line called the Rupanugadara, the Rupanuga Sampradaya, those who are following Rupa Goswami, who was taking shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they can give us some knowledge about what is our actual position as servants and how to act in that capacity to attain the lotus feet of the Lord ultimately. So, Sri Rupa Sanatan, Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhu and Srila Sanatana Goswami Prabhu are two acharyas who teach Sharanagati. Uttama, elevated. This refers to one who is qualified for the topmost form of devotion, prema bhakti. In Sripad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, excuse me, Agyaidavam Nandoshan Mayadishtan Api Svakan Dharman Santyajra Yaksarvan Mamajed Sajat Sattama. Realizing the qualities and faults of the socio-religious system, Varnashram Dharma, which I have instituted, one who completely abandons it and serves me is the best of all sadhus. So Krishna even is encouraging that not to follow some religious principles, even if found in the Vedas. That is not the purpose, simply to be a blind follower or, what do you want to say, a fundamentalist. Fundamentalist. The purpose of following the Vedas is to actually develop a relationship. And the whole purpose of all those rules and regulations is that we can not only do it because the Vedas tell us to do it, but something within us, within our heart, has to make a connection. To have that loving, affectionate dealings with the Supreme Lord and His devotees. And it comes spontaneously from the heart. That is much better than simply doing things out of duty or because you have to do them or because the Vedas said to do them. Of course, the devotee wants to follow all those things automatically, but not because the Vedas said it, but because they have love for Krishna. And his words, his advice, that is taken as valuable, having some value. By doing that, we can think that we are pleasing Krishna. So we need that kind of guidance in order to know what will please Krishna and what will displease him. But the whole purpose has to come from the heart and actually developing love for Krishna. If by following all the rules and regulations we don't develop love, then what is the use? Simply wasted our time. So this kind of thing has to be discouraged. And the real thing of developing a relationship with the Lord and his devotees, that is what is to be awakened. And the cold heart, unloving, uncaring heart, that has to be melted. A heart that is looking for satisfaction in so many different ways of seeking being honored as a great devotee or whatever, as a pious man, as a strict follower of Veda or a Sanskrit pundit or all these things. That is not the purpose of the Vedas. That will never fulfill the aim that they have in mind. Vedaishta sarvaraham eva vedo. All the Vedas are to know Krishna and to establish a relationship with him. Without that, and so-called following Veda, they're not going to help much. Now, Dynatmika. Humility. Here we were saying what this is a very important quality in Vedic culture. By accepting guardianship of Guru, of Krishna, that requires humility. You have to understand that Veda is not knowledge of an ordinary type. Veda is teaching us knowledge of the divine, or science of the divine, the science of God. You'll find in the Bhagavad Gita so many places where Krishna is calling the atheists, materialists, mudhas, duskatinas, rascals. Mudhas mean asses. Duskatina means rascals. He's calling them directly. Look, you are an atheist, you are a mudha, ignorant, who cannot understand me. Veda is telling about God, about Krishna. This thing we don't know in the material conception of life. So we don't know this. And he's saying very clearly in the Gita, you can see so many places where he criticizes, like anything, those who do not have enough intelligence to understand there is God. We're dealing with the scientists. And they have been so foolish, they don't even realize there's a scientist, what the consciousness is, how that influences the world, how that has an important part to play in understanding reality. They have come up with so many theories about matter without having the slightest idea that there's also a consciousness involved. How can that be? Is it not obvious that a science can be made concerning everything except consciousness, and they think that is the explanation of what is there? Darwin has told bodies can evolve by their own physical properties. But living bodies are not just material things. They also have a consciousness. They also have desire, and that we can understand. Our own consciousness is moving us. Without the consciousness, the body would just drop. Because there's consciousness, the body moves in certain ways and goes and does certain things. But a science that does not include the role of consciousness, of desire, and so forth, how can that give us a proper understanding of things? Impossible. That is a science of a world that does not exist. A world without consciousness does not exist. So, in the same way, they have forgotten about consciousness, they have forgotten also about God. A world without God cannot exist. Not possible. Planets are moving in the solar system. They have, even Newton understood, they are controlled. Otherwise that could not happen. That they are set up in such a perfect way without colliding with one another and maintaining like that for billions of years. That's not simply a machine, not merely a mechanism that's at work there. Something more is needed. And even Newton understood that something more is needed, although today when you learn Newton's laws, they don't mention anything about what he understood to be the controller of the universe, the Lord of the universe. That part they leave out. And like that, they have created a science that does not consider consciousness and does not consider God. But there is no such world. There is no such world. Science must be complete if it's to be a real science. And it must include consciousness, it must include God. And as soon as we understand God, then we must understand also humility. That we are also not the controllers and the highest life form in the universe. We are submissive, we are subordinate parts of something more divine than ourselves. So, by including this, by cultivating this humility, then real knowledge, real science can be developed. Real scientific knowledge can be developed. That is complete. We don't say you have to give up material understanding. But if it's going to be material, there has to be understood consciousness, and there has to be understood God also. So, Sharanagati includes this very fundamental quality of humility. Bhaktivinoda used to say, when he was asked, how would you describe a devotee? The quality he pointed out was dainya. He will be humble. This is a devotee. This is the chief characteristic of a devotee, who has actually understood his position in relationship to Krishna. Who has understood Krishna, that there is Krishna, and he has a humble serving relationship with him. And not that it's all up to him or her. So knowing that. I think we'll stop here and then we'll continue next week.
Chai.